Nobody expected this tonight. Not Chrisean, not her fans, not the producers, not even the paparazzi who swarmed the entrance waiting for the chaos they knew she would bring. But what happened at the Baddies USA premiere wasn't chaos. It was humiliation. Public, loud, intentional. And Chrisean Rock is finally speaking out about being denied entry to the very event she helped make viral. It started the moment she stepped onto the sidewalk. Cameras flashing, fans screaming her name, everyone expecting her to shut the place down. But instead of rolling out the red carpet, security rolled out a wall. A real, physical wall of guards blocking the entrance like she was somebody they were under strict orders to keep out. At first, Chrisean thought they were joking. She laughed, smiled, flipped her hair. But the head guard didn't laugh back. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He simply said, "You're not cleared to enter tonight." Not cleared, not approved, not allowed. The crowd went silent. Chrisean's face dropped instantly, confusion, anger, disbelief hitting all at once. This wasn't a scheduling issue. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision someone made before she even arrived. And when Chrisean pulled out her phone, stepped back from the crowd, and started recording her reaction, that's when fans realized this wasn't just a denial. This was a message. A message from the network. A message from the producers. A message from the people inside who clearly didn't want her there. Now Chrisean is speaking out, revealing exactly what happened behind the scenes, who made the call, and why she believes this was a calculated move to embarrass her on the biggest night of the season. But the real shock? There's someone else behind this. Someone she never expected. From the very beginning, Chrisean Rock's connection to Baddies wasn't just a storyline. It was a lifeline, a defining moment, a whole era of chaos, pain, fights, tears, broken friendships, viral clips, and a level of reality TV electricity that no one else could recreate. Whether people loved her or hated her, one thing was always true. Chrisean was the reason millions tuned in. She didn't just walk into the franchise, she saved it. From her explosive arguments to her tearful breakdowns, from her raw honesty to her unpredictable energy, from the way she confronted enemies to the way she clung to people she cared about, Chrisean Rock was the beating heart of Baddies. But the deeper story, the story people don't realize, is that everything about Chrisean's relationship with the show has been complicated for years. Behind the scenes, producers held meetings about her. Cast members formed alliances against her. Executives debated if she was a blessing or a liability. One minute she'd be praised for bringing the views. The next minute she was accused of being too much, too volatile, too unpredictable. Still, one thing stayed consistent. The fans. Always loyal, always watching, always screaming her name. And that loyalty is exactly what made tonight's humiliation so shocking. Because if there's one thing everyone expected, even the haters, it was that Chrisean Rock would own the premiere. Cameras flashing, people cheering, the entire event buzzing with anticipation. Her outfit would trend, her entrance would go viral. Everyone knew she would steal the spotlight the moment she stepped foot on that carpet. But tonight was different. Because someone decided that Chrisean wasn't welcome. To understand how we got here, you have to rewind months. Back to the messy tension brewing between Chrisean and the Baddies producers. People thought the drama was over. They thought the show had moved on. But insiders say there was a silent war happening behind the scenes. Everything started when producers grew tired of what they called the unpredictability of bringing Chrisean around other cast members. They claimed she was too much of a security risk, too emotional, too explosive. They started pushing her off certain appearances, excluding her from promo events, giving her smaller roles in planning. But Chrisean didn't see it as safety. She saw it as punishment, retaliation for her not playing by their script. And she was right. An insider who worked with the network said, "They wanted to control her, and you can't control Chrisean." So they tried to push her out. The resentment built slowly, episode by episode, season by season, until it reached the boiling point. And the Baddies USA premiere? That was supposed to be the one night where all of that drama was set aside. The one night where everyone expected professionalism. The one night Chrisean thought she would be treated like the icon she helped create. But behind closed doors, managers whispered, producers argued, executives made decisions Chrisean wasn't prepared for. And the craziest part? Everyone inside the premiere knew she wasn't getting in before she even arrived. Fans close to the entrance overheard staff whispering, "She's not allowed tonight. She wasn't approved. They said keep her outside." Those lines were repeated again and again, not loudly, but quietly, nervously, like they knew denying Chrisean would create the exact chaos they feared. But why? Why now? Why this event? Why embarrass her publicly when a private warning could have prevented all of this? Because this wasn't just a denial. It was a message.
Feel free to enter your text
and that
here.
message didn't
Select a
come
voice
from
to
one
try it out.
guard,
You
or
can
one
also upload a
producer,
video or
or
audio
one
to
executive.
support multiple.
It came from someone higher, someone who didn't want Chrisean anywhere near that red carpet, someone who made a call behind the scenes and said, "Do not let her in." Baby mamas, rival cast members, jealous influencers, bitter executives. There were plenty of people who had motive, plenty who feared her return, plenty who hated the attention she still gets without even trying. But insiders say the tension grew even worse after a series of explosive backstage incidents in the months leading up to the premiere. There were whispers that Chrisean had clashed with a major cast member. There were rumors she confronted a producer who disrespected her. There were claims she exposed something she wasn't supposed to say publicly. There were hints the network was scared she would overshadow the new cast. One insider texted, "She's too unpredictable. They didn't want her ruining the launch." Another source said the opposite. They were scared she would outshine everyone.
Hi,
The truth?
there.
It's both.
Hi,
Chrisean
there.
doesn't ruin moments. She dominates them. She walks into a room
Hi there.
and instantly
Feel free
becomes
to
the
enter your
center of
text here.
attention,
Select a voice to
whether
try
she
it out.
wants to or
You can
not.
also upload a video or
People
audio.
gravitate toward her. Cameras follow her automatically. Fans scream for her. Even her silence is louder than other people's talking. And that's why the producers panicked. A premiere is supposed to showcase the entire cast, not just one person, not just one storyline, not just one walking headline. And if Chrisean showed up, everyone knew what would happen. She'd steal every camera, every angle, every reaction. The show would revolve around her again. The new girls, irrelevant. The new narrative, gone. The premiere the network spent months preparing, hijacked by Chrisean's presence. They didn't want her overshadowing the entire brand. Again. But here's the real kicker. Chrisean was invited. Until she wasn't. According to two insiders, her name was on the list days before the premiere. But someone removed it at the last minute, without telling her team, without alerting her reps, without warning. They wanted her to show up, just to deny her at the door. A setup, a humiliation, a controlled scandal designed to embarrass her publicly while the cameras rolled. Why? Because the producers knew exactly what would happen when Chrisean realized she wasn't getting in. She'd react, she'd speak out, she'd expose
Hi,
everything.
there. Feel free
And
to enter your
that
text
would create
here
the
and select a
viral
voice
premiere
to try
moment
it
they
out.
needed. Not from inside the event, but outside, on the sidewalk, with the
Hi
world
there.
watching. They wanted to
Hi
use her
there. Feel free
again,
to enter your text
not
here
for the
and select
show,
a voice to try it
but
out.
for the
You
headlines.
can also upload a video.
But the real twist? The person who pushed hardest to keep Chrisean out wasn't a producer, wasn't security, wasn't the network execs. It was someone she trusted, someone she never expected to betray her. And once she discovered who made that call, everything shifted, everything changed. And Chrisean decided to speak out,
Hi there, feel free
not
to enter
just
your
for
text here
herself,
and select a voice to try
but
it
to
out.
expose the
You
person
can-
who tried to erase her. The moment Chrisean realized she wasn't getting into the Baddies USA premiere, something inside her shifted. The confusion faded, the embarrassment burned off, and what replaced it was anger. Heavy, calculated anger from a woman who has spent her entire life fighting people who tried to silence her, dismiss her, or pretend she didn't matter. Chrisean didn't storm off. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She paused, pulled out her phone, and started recording. Because she knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. A deliberate attempt to humiliate her in front of fans, cameras, and an entire franchise she helped elevate to the mainstream. And she wanted everyone to see it. But what nobody on that sidewalk knew, not the fans, not the paparazzi, not even Chrisean, was that the order to block her that night didn't come from the head of security. It didn't come from a producer. It didn't come from a general network directive. It came from someone with a personal agenda, someone who wanted her nowhere near that carpet. Someone who feared what her presence would do to their own spotlight. The first twist in this betrayal came from an insider text leaked minutes after the incident. A message that spread across social media like wildfire. Check the approved list. Someone removed her name this morning. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't miscommunication. This was intentional removal. And as fans dug deeper, more leaked messages surfaced. Screenshots between two lower-level production staffers who were confused and upset. Why was Chrisean taken off the list? They told us it came from upstairs. No, it came from her. That last message sent fans into a frenzy. Her? Who was her? Which woman had enough power to block Chrisean from her own industry event? At first, the internet assumed it was Natalie Nunn. She had history with Chrisean. She had beef. She had motive. She had the kind of ego that didn't want another star overshadowing her moment. And while Natalie was involved in backstage discussions, she wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. In fact, another insider clarified. Natalie didn't make the call. She supported it, but she didn't originate it. If not Natalie, then who? That's when the real twist dropped. The twist that made Chrisean's knees almost buckle when she heard it. The person who removed her name. The person who called security personally. The person who insisted Chrisean be kept out was a woman she trusted. A woman she defended. A woman she thought was an ally. One of the new cast members, someone who Chrisean had been publicly supportive of, someone she had praised online, someone she had helped uplift, had requested she be denied entry. And why? Because this new cast member feared Chrisean would overshadow her entire debut. According to leaked voice notes passed around by insiders and later confirmed by a production assistant, the cast member allegedly said, "I don't want her stealing my moment. This is my premiere." My premiere. Not the franchises, not the casts, not the fans. Hers. And apparently, that insecurity ran deep. Behind-the-scenes messages revealed she had been complaining about Chrisean for months, saying producers compared her to Chrisean too often, that fans only cared when Chrisean's name came up, and that she didn't want her debut season to be another Chrisean rock takeover. So, what did she do? She went to the higher-ups. She used personal connections. She pulled strings behind the scenes, and she told them, if you want my cooperation this season, she cannot be there. This wasn't just petty. This was calculated. But here's where the betrayal gets even uglier. The cast member told producers she feared for her safety if Chrisean attended. That was the manipulation. That's what sealed the decision. Because all producers needed was the hint of a safety concern to justify denial. And once that was said out loud, Chrisean's access was shut down instantly. The craziest part? Security wasn't even told the real reason. They were fed a vague line like, "She's not approved tonight," with no context, no clarity, No mention of the cast member's request. And guess who pulled the cast member aside inside the venue and congratulated her? Natalie Nunn. Leaked footage from inside the premiere, recorded discreetly on someone's phone, caught a fragment of the conversation. You did what you had to do. She would have taken the whole night. This is your moment. That clip, it spread like wildfire. Chrisean's supporters ripped the internet apart. Fans felt betrayed. Commentators on TikTok and YouTube reacted in disbelief. But while all of this was happening online, Chrisean was outside, finally getting the full story. Someone from inside the event, a staffer who had worked with her before, quietly slipped out and told her in private, it wasn't the network, it wasn't production, it was her. She blocked you. The moment Chrisean heard the name, a cast member she had defended more than once, her face changed completely. The disappointment, the anger, the heartbreak, it all hit at once. Chrisean asked only one question. Why would she do that to me? And the staffer answered with brutal honesty. They're scared of you. Because that's the truth. Chrisean Rock doesn't need a whole season. She doesn't need production gimmicks. She doesn't need stage drama. She is the drama. She is the moment. She is the ratings. And everyone inside that premiere knew that. But the first twist wasn't just who blocked her. It was why the franchise suddenly turned against her. A reason deeper than jealousy, deeper than tension, deeper than premiere night ego. A reason tied to money. A reason tied to contracts. A reason tied to a secret the network thought they successfully buried. Until tonight. Because the real betrayal isn't just that she was banned. It's that the Baddies executives knew exactly what Chrisean was about to say. And that is why they blocked her. She was the only person who knew the truth. She was the only one who wasn't afraid to spill it. And letting her inside the premiere would have ruined everything they planned for this season. Chrisean's denial wasn't personal, it was protective. The network wasn't protecting the cast, they were protecting the premiere. Because Chrisean was holding a secret, a truth so explosive that if she had walked in that door tonight, the entire event, the entire season, the entire franchise would have collapsed in front of every camera. And that secret? That's the next twist. The moment Chrisean learned who blocked her from the premiere, the betrayal felt like a punch to the stomach. But what she found out next, that's what flipped this from petty jealousy into a full-scale cover-up the Baddies USA producers were desperate to hide. Because while everyone assumed a cast member blocked her out of insecurity, insiders revealed that wasn't the real reason at all. The cast member was just the face of it, the decoy, the puppet on a string. The real mastermind behind the denial was someone with power, someone with everything to lose if Chrisean walked inside that building tonight. Because Chrisean wasn't just arriving to take photos and watch the premiere. She came with receipts. She came with information. She came knowing something that the network never wanted out. And that is what triggered the panic. While fans outside screamed in confusion, while security nervously stood in formation, while Chrisean filmed her reaction, something else was happening inside. The producers were scrambling. Candles lit everywhere. Camera crews rushing, cast members taking last-minute selfies, champagne glasses clinking. But behind the scenes, the energy was tense, whispered, paranoid. A production assistant overheard it all. Is she here yet? Please tell me they stopped her. She better not get through that door. We are not dealing with the fallout tonight. Fallout. That was the word they kept using. Fallout from what? Well, here's where the story takes a massive turn. 3 days before the premiere, Chrisean had been on a phone call. A call no one expected. A call from someone inside production. Someone who didn't trust the franchise anymore. Someone who was ready to expose the truth. a whistleblower. This insider told Chrisean something huge. The network had been quietly editing this season to erase her influence and rewrite major storylines that originally revolved around her. Scenes removed, confessionals deleted, episodes rearranged. Certain fights and conversations, the ones where cast members mentioned her, were cut out. All to make the new cast look stronger and Chrisean look irrelevant. But that wasn't even the shocking part. The insider said the network's biggest secret was this. They had filmed an entire storyline behind Chrisean's back. A storyline using her name, her drama, and her past with certain cast members, without giving her credit or compensation. They used her likeness, her fights, her reputation, her unfinished beefs, her family drama, her relationship rumors, all without paying her, all without asking her, all without permission. And the insider warned her, don't let them debut that storyline without you present. They'll roll it out, pretend you were irrelevant, and profit off your name anyway. That was the moment Chrisean decided she would show up. She wasn't going to let them use her name without her response. She wasn't going to watch them profit off her life while pretending she didn't matter. She wasn't going to let them erase her. But producers couldn't take that risk. Because the secret storyline wasn't just shady. It was damaging. It involved conversations about her mental health. It included cast confessionals where they made unapproved claims. It even had a segment using an audio clip of Chrisean during a vulnerable breakdown, a clip she never signed off on. If Chrisean got inside that premiere, she would have exposed everything. The producers would have been forced to pause the event. The media would have jumped on the scandal. The cast would have panicked. The network's legal team would have been on fire. So what did they do? They made the new cast member, the insecure one, make the call publicly. That way, when backlash came, producers could blame her. But behind the scenes, it was the execs who said, get Chrisean off the list now. She cannot see tonight's footage. But here comes the next shocking part. The twist that proves this wasn't just about editing or storylines. This was about liability. Because the insider told Chrisean something even more explosive. There was footage, never released, never mentioned publicly, that producers refused to include in the show because it could incriminate them. Footage of a physical altercation between two cast members during filming, where a weapon was allegedly present. And guess who was mentioned in that argument? Chrisean. Even though she wasn't there. Even though she wasn't part of the fight. Even though she didn't send anyone or say anything. Her name was used. Her name escalated the argument. Her name got dragged into a situation she didn't even witness. The insider told her, they used your name to hype the moment, and now they're scared you'll find out. And if Chrisean walked inside that premiere tonight, she'd see the edited version. She'd see how they twisted the narrative. She'd see what they cut out. She'd see what they left in. She'd see how they used her name as a shield to cover up someone else's dangerous behavior. But the producers weren't just scared of Chrisean exposing them publicly. They were scared she had proof, which she did. The night before the premiere, Chrisean posted a cryptic message. I got something to say, and I got evidence. Fans thought she was talking about Blueface. They thought she meant a cast member. They thought she meant an ex, a friend, or a hater. They didn't realize she was talking about the network. So when Chrisean stepped out of the car at the premiere, glowing, confident, unapologetic, the producers panicked. One exec texted security, do not let her in. I'm on my way. But he didn't come outside. He stayed hidden. He watched from inside as Chrisean was denied at the door. And that brings us to the shocking reveal. The part nobody expected. As Chrisean stood outside recording, the insider who warned her called again. This time whispering, frantic, terrified. They're scared because they know you have the recording. Recording? What recording? The insider explained. During a private production meeting weeks earlier, a meeting only staff were supposed to hear, someone recorded the execs discussing how to use Chrisean's name strategically to boost ratings, regardless of whether she consented. And worse, they joked about keeping her out of the loop. They laughed about how easy it was to recycle her drama. They even suggested letting cast members lie about her on camera because it sells. And that entire conversation was recorded and sent to Chrisean. The moment the producers realized she had the recording, everything changed. They weren't just scared of her walking the carpet. They were terrified she would check them on the microphone, in front of the press, in front of the cameras, in front of the entire cast, with proof in her phone. But here's the wildest part, the twist that raises new questions. The insider didn't just send Chrisean the recording. They told her, "I'm not the only one who wants this to come out." Meaning there are more whistleblowers, more staff members, more people inside Baddies USA who want the truth exposed. And they are all feeding information to her. This isn't Chrisean versus a cast member. This isn't Chrisean versus Natalie. This isn't even Chrisean versus the franchise. This is Chrisean versus the entire machine. And tonight's denial wasn't a rejection. It was fear. Fear of her voice. Fear of her truth. Fear of what she would reveal if she walked into that building. Because the collapse wouldn't start with her. It would start with them. The moment the footage of Chrisean being denied entry hit the internet, everything exploded at once. Fans weren't just confused. They were furious. Comment sections went from "what's happening" to "this was a setup" in seconds. And as Chrisean's own video circulated, the reactions became louder, sharper, and more divided than anything the Baddies franchise had ever triggered. At first, supporters flooded the timeline demanding answers. Why would they block the woman who built the brand? She is the show. This is jealousy at its highest level. Clips of her standing outside, trying to understand what was happening, were replayed with slow-motion edits, dramatic filters, and subtitles calling out the network. Within an hour, our "Let Chrisean In" and "Justice for Chrisean" were trending everywhere. But then, the cast members got involved. Some of the new girls tried to play it cute at first, posting selfies from inside the venue like nothing was happening. But fans dragged them instantly. "Y'all scared of her. Y'all know she would have shut this whole thing down. You only shine because she was locked outside." The pressure got so intense that one cast member deleted her entire story within minutes. But the real fuel came when Natalie Nunn finally posted a weird, passive-aggressive message that said, "Sometimes energy ain't right, and God protects you from what you don't see." Fans immediately responded, "You did this. Girl, stop acting holy. We know the vibes. This is manipulation." Natalie's comments turned into a battlefield. She eventually turned them off, and that made everything worse. Meanwhile, the new cast member who insiders exposed as the person who initiated the block, she stayed silent, completely silent, which fans knew was guilt disguised as strategy. But the silence didn't save her. A screenshot leaked from her burner account, a message where she said, "It was my night. I'm not letting anyone overshadow me." The internet dragged her so viciously that her name started trending next to Chrisean's, but for the worst reason possible. Inside the industry, executives were scrambling. Publicists were texting producers, "Fix this immediately. Why is this playing out online? Why wasn't she handled privately?" But the damage was already done. Not only did fans believe Chrisean, celebrities began to jump in too. A rapper tweeted, "They playin' with Chrisean like she ain't the reason y'all watch." A reality star posted, "If she showed up and you panicked, that says everything." Even a major influencer wrote, "This franchise is terrified of the monster they created." But the real panic began behind the scenes. Some cast members who were already inside the premiere started texting whistleblowers, "What's going on outside? Is she still there? Tell her we didn't know. Producers told us it was a security call. A few even tried to sneak outside to talk to her, but production stopped them. They didn't want any interaction. They didn't want any reconciliation. They didn't want any truth leaking back and forth, because the more people talked, the more the real story would spread. And that's exactly what happened. Production assistants began anonymously messaging fan pages, confirming what Chrisean already knew. She had a recording. They were terrified she'd expose it in interviews. She wasn't denied because of drama. She was denied because of liability. Once that leaked, everything shifted. Fan pages went into investigation mode. YouTube commentators began breaking down every leaked text, every clip, every whispered comment inside the venue. TikTok creators posted theories. They used her name for storylines illegally. There's a scene involving her voice note. They edited her into conversations she wasn't part of. And the wildest theory? Producers kept Chrisean out because they feared she would confirm which of the cast members lied on her to boost their storylines. Because it wasn't just one girl. It wasn't just one lie. Multiple cast members had confessionals in the season mentioning Chrisean. And according to The Insider, some of those mentions were completely fabricated. And once the public heard that, they went insane. Y'all lied on her for TV? You used her for clout and blocked her in real life? Expose the recordings now. The pressure was so massive that the network's social media team tried to do damage control by ignoring it, posting premiere photos, cast shots, cute captions pretending nothing was happening. And fans tore them apart in the comments. Where's Chrisean? Fake premiere. Y'all scared of her? Show the real footage. The backlash got so bad that they turned off comments on 3 posts in a row. But the biggest reaction came from someone nobody expected, a former Baddies staff member who quit the franchise last season. They went live and said, "I'm not surprised. They've been trying to silence Chrisean for months. They use her name when it benefits them and blacklist her when they're done. This is how they operate." That live hit 60K views in 10 minutes. And then came the industry commentary. Bloggers, media outlets, reality TV analysts. Everyone had something to say. One commentary account with 3 million followers said, "If the allegations about the producers using her without consent are true, this could lead to a legal battle." Another tweeted, "If Chrisean releases the recording she has, this franchise is done." The industry was officially on red alert. But the most shocking reaction came from someone inside the Baddies universe. Someone who finally broke the silence and admitted, there is something the producers don't want out. And it involves Chrisean. That comment alone sent the internet into meltdown. Because if the preview of the season already features lies, if confessionals already used her name, if the network already deleted scenes involving her, then what exactly were they hiding? And what exactly was on that recording? Fans demanded answers. Journalists started asking questions. The cast started panicking. The producers started hiding. And Chrisean, for the first time that night, she smiled. Because she knew the truth wasn't just going to come out. The truth was going to destroy them. The industry was already on fire. But what happened next took the scandal from reality TV drama to a full-blown franchise meltdown. Because while fans argued, while cast members hid, while producers panicked inside the building, Chrisean finally decided to listen to the recording. Not the short snippet she heard before. Not the tiny preview the insider gave her, but the full audio. Unedited, uncut, raw. And the moment she pressed play, everything changed. The first voice she heard wasn't a junior producer. It wasn't a cast member. It wasn't someone irrelevant. It was the executive producer. The one who controls casting, contracts, edits, security, press, storylines, everything. He said, "Look, Chrisean is good for the show, but she's too big now. We need to use her name without dealing with her. Another voice jumped in. She doesn't need to be here to drive views. Just put her in confessionals through other people. A third voice, a woman, added, and if she gets upset, let her. She won't do anything. Just keep her out of the main event so she can't respond in real time. Then someone laughed. Actually laughed, mocking her. She'll blow up online like she always does. That's free promo. Free promo. That was the moment Chrisean's stomach dropped. That was the moment she finally understood. They didn't blacklist her because she was a problem. They blacklisted her because she was a gold mine. A gold mine they didn't want to pay. A gold mine they wanted to control. A gold mine they wanted to use at a distance, so she couldn't talk back. But that wasn't the worst part. Not even close. The recording continued, and that's where the tone shifted. No jokes, no laughter, just cold strategy. A producer asked, "What if she shows up to the premiere? Her name is still on the early list." The executive producer replied without hesitation, "Remove her, quietly, last minute. If she comes, block her at the door." No exceptions. Someone else whispered, "What about the fans? They'll tear us apart." Then came the line that confirmed everything. "I don't care. She can't see the footage, not until we fix episode 6. Episode 6. Chrisean paused the recording right there. She stared at her phone like it was trying to warn her. Episode 6. What was in episode 6? Why were they scared? Why did the executive producer sound nervous? She hit play again. A male staffer asked, "What exactly do we need to fix in episode 6? And the executive producer answered, "We have to take out the part where they mention the hallway incident. If she sees that, we're screwed." The hallway incident. A phrase no fan had heard until that very moment. And in the recording, the room fell dead silent. No one joked. No one laughed. You could hear someone swallow nervously. Then another producer asked, "Should we cut the part where they blame it on her?" And the EP replied, "No, keep that. It shifts the narrative. It protects the cast member." Protects the cast member. And instantly, everything clicked. The new girl who pushed the blocker request, the same girl who said, "This is my night," the same girl the producers were desperate to protect, was the one connected to the hallway incident. An incident that allegedly involved a confrontation between cast members, security, and a situation that spiraled so violently, production had to call in legal counsel. And instead of taking accountability, they blamed Chrisean. Even though she wasn't there, even though she wasn't involved, even though her name was used to escalate someone else's actions. Episode 6 was a cover-up. The producers were terrified Chrisean would see the original edit, terrified she would hear what was said about her, terrified she would notice what was cut, terrified she would expose the truth. And exposing it, on premiere night, in front of press, fans, cameras, influencers, would have taken the Baddies USA franchise down in real time. That's why she was denied entry. Not because she was unpredictable, not because of safety, not because of drama, because she had proof, because she knew the truth, because she had the recording in her pocket, ready to blow everything open. And the executive producer himself admitted it on tape. "If she finds out what we did with that episode, we're done." Done. A word no producer uses lightly. Chrisean sat with that recording playing in her ears, and a slow smile crept across her face. They thought keeping her out would silence her. They thought blocking her at the door would embarrass her. They thought pushing her outside would stop her from revealing anything. But the opposite happened. Because now Chrisean wasn't guessing. She wasn't assuming. She wasn't reacting emotionally. She had receipts, She had names. She had motives. She had the exact moment they decided to scapegoat her. And she had the exact episode they were hiding. But what she doesn't have, yet is what happened in that hallway. What was the incident? Who was involved? Why was her name used? Why did they need to fix the edit? What are they protecting the new cast member from? And what does episode 6 really show? Fans don't know. The cast doesn't know. Even Chrisean doesn't know the full truth. Not yet. But she's about to find out. And when she does, it won't just expose the cast. It won't just expose the producers. It won't just expose the franchise. It'll expose the person they've been shielding. The person who blacklisted her. The person whose entire storyline is built on a lie. And that truth is coming next. Because Chrisean just announced one thing. I'm posting the recording. And when she hits upload, the entire Baddies USA franchise is going to fall apart. Episode by episode, lie by lie, name by name. This chapter isn't over. It's about to explode. So now you've heard everything. The betrayal, the blacklist, the secret storyline, the producer's recorded plan, the hidden hallway incident, the frantic cover-up, and the exact reason they couldn't let Chrisean walk through those premiere doors. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't miscommunication. This was a calculated move, rooted in fear. Fear of